Françaises, Français de métropole, de nos
Hello,
outre-mer et de
Frenchmen and
l'étranger.
French women,
En vous
whether at home
présentant
or
mes vœux, je
abroad.
veux commencer
I'm
par
presenting my
exprimer
wishes
notre
to
gratitude à
you,
tous
and I'd like
pour nos
to thank
compatriotes
you
qui ce
all
soir
to be
encore
with us today,
protègent,
and to think of those who today have been ensuring the life of our nation and helping each and every one of us, because it is thanks to them that we can spend this time with our close ones and our families. And at this time, I'd also like to really express my affection for those who are sick or feel alone. 2023 was marked by the continuation of the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and the bombardments in Gaza, by the terrorist attacks on the 7th of October in Israel, where 41 French people were killed. And this evening I'm thinking of their families and of our fellow citizens who are still being kept hostages. We are not forgetting them. This year has also been marked by geopolitical tension, the impact of climate problems on our country, the terrorist attacks in our country, violence, acts of hatred which undermine the cohesion of our nation. And inflation has also made it more difficult to be able to find housing, to be able to do one's shopping and live happily. I know that there is a lot of fear for the return of war and the lack of control here, but I am nevertheless convinced, and this is no show of false optimism, I'm convinced that in this crisis we can do well. And that's why I will follow the same logic as I always have, to follow with determination and constance today and tomorrow. For 7 years, you have given me the power and the trust to create a fairer France in order to protect and unite us. And that is the direction we will follow, and that is what we did in 2023. In 2023, France is one of the Western countries which, despite the context, has been able to make the most decisions and be able to transform things, such as the pension reform, which, despite being unpopular, is something that was necessary. And I stand by these reforms. And all these past months, we were far from being impotent, as was predicted, and I'm happy for this. And for that, I'd also like to thank the Prime Minister and her government. In 2023, we acted. We acted in order to re-industrialize our country, in order to find full employment. And we can see the first results with pensions, unemployment benefits, green industries, the acceleration of France 2030, the overhaul of professional schools, the reform of unemployment agencies, of active solidarity, the reform of the European market, of the power grid. And all these great transformations were decided, voted, and had started to be implemented this year. We started and continue to create jobs and are reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And this was in line with our commitments. And this shows that you are also here to meet the challenge of this mobilization. Thanks to this economic rearmament, we are able to finance our social model and to protect ourselves against crisis and to finance our public services. We invested into our schools and health in order to correct inequalities. I laid the foundations of an environmental plan without precedent and found massive resources to accompany each and every one of you in this transition. We voted for laws to protect us, historical laws to protect, to finance our army. Thus, we will have doubled our military budget in a decade. There's also the historical order for our police and our gendarmes, our magistrates, in order to ensure the unity and order of our republic and to create thousands of jobs to better protect you. We will continue to re-establish authority everywhere where it is lacking, faced with incivility and delinquence. When it comes to immigration, a law was voted in December, as well as an agreement at European level, which give us the necessary resource to better enforce the principles of our republic and fight against illegal immigration and trafficking. and to better welcome those who are welcome in our country, refugees, students, researchers and workers. Now, I know that some of you might be impatient, and I know that many would like us to do more and faster. And it is in order to reach these goals that 2024 must above all be a year of determination. One needs to act and act in the interest of our nation. I will be steadfast in working for our schools, childhood and education, in order to re-establish the level of our schooling, the authority of our professors and teachers, and the strength of our secular and republican schooling. In order to strengthen our economy and our public services, we will have to also strengthen our civil education. France is a culture, it has a history and a language and values that have to be taught from a very young age. I'll also be determined to make our republic stronger in order to fight by fighting against delinquency, by fighting against discrimination, and fighting for equality between men and women, for young children and for people living with disabilities. I'm determined that we will be able to fight against, in order to strengthen our industrial development, our technological and scientific development. We have to do everything to reach our ambitions for full employment. We need to work for our companies and produce more in France. And thus we will invest into cutting-edge technologies, into artificial intelligence, transportation, and so on and so forth. In 2027, we will have gained 10 years compared to where we were in 2017, when we were 10 years behind. In 2024, we will have to accelerate our efforts and simplify the life of our entrepreneurs, our farmers, our traders, our elected officials, and especially our mayors. And in many sectors, we will have to work, especially in housing. We are determined to act in 2024 to develop our environmental plan, to abandon fossil fuels, and to become more independent and to progress faster. France is already producing some of the most decarbonized electricity in France, and we will completely give up coal by the end of 2027. And this is a fight that we will lead at international level with our Pact for People and the Planet. 2024 will be a year of determination, of efficiency, and of results. And I will have the opportunity in the weeks ahead to tell you how our nation will be able to meet these challenges. Fellow citizens, but action is not an option. It is our duty for future generations, and that is why I will stand steadfast with those who are working in service of our country, and I will never be with those who refuse reality and refuse to say things how they are in order to justify not doing anything. Those who weaken us. I won't stand by those who prefer their own gain or arrangements instead of those of the people. I'll continue the strengthening of our nation faced with the changes around the world, because the strength of character is important in these difficult times. 2024 will be a year of decisive choices. We will be able to choose a Europe that is stronger, more sovereign, in the line with the tradition of Jacques Delors, a Europe that is working for peace in the Middle East. And on our own continent, we will continue supporting the Ukrainian people and with them our security, our freedom, and our values. You will have to vote next June on the strengthening of our European sovereignty faced with these perils. Stop Russia and support Ukraine, or give in to authoritarian forces in Ukraine. Continue the European project, or to stop it. To continue the environmental transition, or to go backwards. To affirm the strength of our liberal democracies, or give way to lies that bring chaos. 2024 will be a year of our French pride for the thousands of French compagnons, of artisans, of workers who have worked in this wonderful project to rebuild Notre Dame, whose tower will once again point to the sky and will crown a cathedral that will reopen on the 8th of December. We are a nation of compagnons, of builders. We are able to do things when we are united. And yes, as promised, in 5 years, we will have been able to rebuild the cathedral and do what was thought impossible. We are a nation which, when it is proud of itself, carries universal hope. 2024 will be a year when we will also celebrate our history. 80 years after 1944, we will be proud of our past, of our heroes, and of our different destinies. Whether we are soldiers, whether we were born French, or people who chose France as their homeland, French people for the resistance, those who fought for a liberated France, and a France that was faithful to the spirit of the Enlightenment and that of our revolution. 2024 will be a year of pride in the French language. After having restored the Château of Villers-Cotterêts, we will welcome the world of francophonie here. 2024 will be also a year of French sporting pride, since the Olympic and Paralympic Games will take place in our country, and they will also take place in continental France as well as in our overseas territories. And we will be proud of our athletes, of our artists, of our country. And this popular getting together of thousands of volunteers will build a nation and a sporting heritage. We will all be involved, and we will start work on all this tomorrow. As you've understood, 2024 will be a true French vintage, because it is once every decade that we commemorate our liberation. It is perhaps once a century that we host the Olympic Games, and it is only perhaps once every 1,000 years that we rebuild a cathedral. It is once in a generation that the destiny of the next generation is at play, and that is what we have at hand today. 2024 is a year of determination, of choices, of regeneration, and of pride. It is, in a nutshell, a year of hope. This year, a lot of our future will play out, and we have to choose together. We have to choose instead of being passive. We must not just follow the road, we must build it. And our entire history has taught us that the will of a few can overcome all fatalities. So we must do this together. We must work together to work beyond factions and corporatism, because in our people we have real resources to meet these challenges. Dear fellow citizens, I wish you a very wonderful and happy 2024, so that France can unite, act, and be resplendent, that it can have the great splendor of the great companies, because this is our destiny. Long live the Republic and long live France.